Are you considering applying for TSA Precheck or Global Entry? I want to tell you a little bit about both programs and which one you should apply for if you're thinking about it. First, I want to remind you that please subscribe. It really helps our channel grow and we can bring you more videos, travel tips like this, travel itineraries, and other things. And don't forget to hit the little bell as well. So, TSA Precheck versus Global Entry. This is a huge question. I have had both TSA Precheck and Global Entry separately, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about both of them and which one I think is right for you. So, TSA Precheck, number one. So TSA Precheck was started around 2013 by the Department of Homeland Security as a way to really get people through security quicker, to really be pre-screened before they get to the airport. I don't know if you remember airports pre-2001, but it was awesome. You could go to the airport, you could get through security in just a couple minutes because really it was just a metal detector, and of course it was not as safe, as we learned. However, there was generally no long line at the airport. But now we have the TSA, and we're thankful that they started TSA Precheck. So what TSA Precheck is it's going to get you through security a little bit faster because you're going to have a separate line. I'm sure you've been to the airport and it says TSA Precheck. You get to not only go through that line, but then it's also a little bit expedited because you don't have to take your shoes off, you don't have to take your coat off, you don't have to take your belt off, you don't have to take any of your electronics out of your bag either. You just put your bag on the conveyor belt and it goes. So for me, I have had TSA Precheck for 3 or 4 years now, and I don't think I've ever been in the security line for longer than 10 or 15 minutes, even at a busy airport. So the $85 you will be spending for 5 years of TSA Precheck for me is well worth it. So how do you apply for TSA Precheck? It's a pretty simple process. You're going to be applying on the website of the TSA. You fill out your application and then you will find an appointment near you. When I first applied, I was actually living in a fairly small town and we didn't have a TSA department. However, I got notification that we are having a screening event for 2 weeks at this airport. So TSA is coming to town and they're going to be, if you want to apply for TSA Precheck. So that's what I did and ended up getting my TSA Precheck at that time. So always be looking for that, especially if you live in a small town. One tip I want to tell you about TSA Precheck is if you read the small print, it says it's not always guaranteed. So even if you are approved for it, what's going to happen is you get to the airport, you see your boarding pass, and it will say TSA Precheck at the top, which is what the screener uses to let you through that line. Sometimes it won't be there. So that's happened to me before where I will go back up to the gate agent and say, hey, you forgot to put this on here. And for me, it's always been an issue. Like I put my number in wrong. One time my sister bought my ticket and got my birthday wrong. She was there when I was born, but you know, whatever. And so I'll usually try to talk them into it, like, hey, put it on here. But sometimes they say it's actually a lottery, so they don't let everybody with TSA Precheck always have it. If there's a number of people that are coming that day with TSA Precheck, they don't want that line to be too long. So sometimes you just won't be able to do it, but that hasn't happened to me yet, and I fly a decent amount, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. So last year, I decided to also apply for Global Entry. We usually do 1 or 2 international trips a year, so I just wanted to expedite the process of getting through immigration. What Global Entry is, it's basically includes TSA Precheck. So you don't have to have both. You apply for one or the other, both of them will include TSA Precheck. So just so you know, everything that TSA Precheck has, Global Entry also has. But Global Entry also has a couple extra things, including they basically you get to bypass the line when you are coming back from a foreign country back onto US soil. So your Global Entry is not going to work if you are in a foreign country and you want to bypass immigration. Say you fly to England tomorrow, you're not going to be able to bypass immigration there because you have Global Entry, because it is a US Department of Homeland Security thing. I will tell you that the application for Global Entry is quite a bit different than TSA Precheck, and it is quite the process. So I'm going to tell you my story, and this will help you kind of understand exactly what you're about to go through. So I applied in January 2020 for Global Entry, as did my boyfriend. We applied on the very same day. We're not married. We both have TSA Precheck already though, so we've already gone through that screening process. So I applied January 2020. I received my pre-approval, conditional approval is what they call it, about 2 weeks later. So what that means is you have to apply, you get your conditional approval, then you have to sign up for an appointment, and then you get your approval or not approval. So I got my pre-approval middle of January 2020, and I went on their website to find an appointment. The nearest one near me, even though I live in a medium-sized city now, was October 2020, so about 9 months later. So I said, okay, it's pandemic, we're not traveling anyway, so I signed up for an appointment. I went and did my appointment in October, and I got my card about 2 or 3 weeks later, so my approval for that. So once you do your appointment, it's super easy. As long as you have an appointment that you can do, that's when you're going to get your card. I've heard people in big cities say they got an appointment right away, so the whole process for them was a couple weeks or a couple months anyways. Okay, so that was me. My boyfriend applied January 2020. He got his conditional approval in December of 2020. So it took almost an entire year for him to get that conditional approval. When he went on their website after that to find an appointment, the nearest one was July 2021. So that could have been a year and a half. We ended up going to Cancun in April. So you can also do an appointment on the way back from an international trip if you already have conditional approval and you're coming back from an international destination into the US. It's a lot of the big airports. We ended up doing ours in Houston. He did his interview right then, right there, and he ended up getting his card about a week or two later. So just so you know, from what I've read online, there's no rhyme or reason for why it takes some people so long and some people get it right away. Again, we both had TSA Precheck already. They are two different departments, so obviously they're not necessarily talking to each other, but we both knew we were cleared. We both knew we would get approved because, you know, our backgrounds, I guess. You kind of know what you've done in your life and what you haven't. But just so you know, I mean, it could be a while. So some people say, well, should I apply for TSA Precheck or Global Entry if Global Entry includes both? Well, I will tell you, if you need TSA Precheck right now, it could take you up to 2 years to get Global Entry. I would just pay the $85, get the TSA Precheck, and then once you get your Global Entry, it will cover TSA Precheck as well, and you're not going to get any of that money back. But if you need TSA Precheck right now, it's a much quicker process, and you're going to get your approval or not much quicker. So just so you know, if you are trying to decide between the two of them, I would definitely think of that timeline. If you're going on an international trip in 6 months, you may not have your Global Entry by then. So just so you know, just be mentally prepared for that. But just remember, if you are going on an international trip, you just need that conditional approval. You don't need your appointment because you can likely do your appointment on the way back from your international trip anyways. So when people say, what should I apply for? TSA Precheck or Global Entry? My answer is what's right for you. They both last 5 years. If you go on one international trip over the next 5 years, I would say apply for Global Entry. It is well worth it. You get a cool little card, so you feel very special. You're a traveler, right? And you're going to be bypassing those immigration lines. I don't know about you, but I've stood in the immigration lines for up to 4 hours at a couple times, actually. Seattle, I think, and another one somewhere else. I've stood in immigration lines, and they're just the worst. It's like I'm coming into my own country. I shouldn't have to wait so long to get through immigration. So just so you know, for me, that extra $15 is absolutely worth it because, like I said, it's $100 for 5 years to get the Global Entry because it includes TSA Precheck as well. So that's my opinion. If you don't plan to travel internationally ever, then there's no reason to get Global Entry. It's more money. It's a lot longer of a process. It really is a commitment to get through that process. So if you're only traveling domestically, I would go with TSA Precheck. But even if you travel once or twice in the next 5 years, to be honest, it is so worth it. That TSA Precheck, getting through that line quickly, knowing that you're pre-approved and knowing the airline knows that you're pre-approved, there is an extra bit of security there that you feel like getting through that line as well. Not having to take stuff out of your bag, it's just the best. So I would say definitely apply for TSA Precheck unless you are using that international part of Global Entry, and then definitely do that as well. I hope that was super helpful. If you have any other questions about this, I also have this story on my website, so I'm going to be linking to that. And let me know any other travel tips you're looking for, because there are so many out there that people just don't know the answers to, and I really want to help kind of clear that stuff up. So just let me know.